Hey everyone, Colin once again, and welcome back to another movie review. And well, after a long time of being asked for by Alexandro Castro, wanted me to review this one, and so I reviewed the CGI one. So right down to reviewing the first of this franchise, which I'm not particularly a fan of overall of this franchise though. But to me, the first one, I thought to me the first one is the only good one in this whole franchise because the sequels after them have sucked. So I've long waited So for me to reviewing the first Resident Evil film, released back in 2002. And wonders, I guess I got this here dirt cheap because I ain't paying $10 for something like this. So, but if you're wondering what the price tag, I haven't taken this one off though. But yeah, Resident Evil. Yeah, it's based on the video games, which I did not grow up playing with. It's one of those first-person horror shoot-'em-up games which I did not grow up with. I grew up more of playing House of the Dead more. Me and my brother we both loved playing the House of the Dead games. The first one we loved, second game we loved, the third one we loved, and then at number 4 it's my least favorite in those game series, but I still like the fourth one though. But that's why I grew up playing more of the House of the Dead games more than Resident Evil. But the first one, okay, it's directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, which this director, okay, Paul W.S. Anderson, the early films he did before this, I liked. I enjoy the first Mortal Kombat film. I love Event Horizon. I love Event Horizon. To me, that's his best film. I love Event Horizon with Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill. That's like, the outer, haunted spaceship in ours. It's like haunted house in outer space because it's a haunted spaceship. I love Event Horizon. Soldier with Kurt Russell. I reviewed that even twice because I revisited it for a 20th anniversary review. I enjoyed Soldier. Like I said before, growing up, that I remember watching it a couple of times with my dad. Then I just didn't care for it. But then, as years later, like now, I enjoyed Soldier now. Kurt Russell, I think, does a good job as Todd. So, for what the story was, I enjoyed Soldier now. I'm glad that film proved me wrong. And then he came to when you do the Resident Evil franchise. Now, the first one right here, I say, to me, this is the only good one in this whole franchise. The sequels, there are six of these films in this franchise. Paul W.S. Anderson, he directed the first one. He did not direct the second and the third one, Apocalypse and Extinction, but then he go on to direct the fourth, fifth, and the sixth one. And I did not care for any of the sequels. They have sucked, basically. And especially the last one, the final chapter, that sucked even more. And especially it stars his real life wife, Milla Jovovich. He's had to have him all of his movies. Although he produced the 2 and 3, though he didn't direct them, but still, all of his movies, basically. Even other ones, he's also, also Three Musketeers. I did not care for Musketeers either. Although, the last good film he did, I would say, I also liked from Paul W.S. Anderson, that was the remake of Death Race. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I enjoyed Death Race with Jason Statham and Tyrese Gibson. That's like the last good one he's directed. Paul W.S. Anderson. So, yeah. I like Death Race. Yeah, I love Event Horizon, Soldier, Mortal Kombat, but I'm not a fan of this franchise. To me, the first one is the only good one in it. And to me, as like I said, I don't know anything about the games or the characters. Although I am familiar with the Umbrella Corporation and some other things, though. But I'm not all too familiar with the whole source material, how consistent these films are consistent with. Well, I'm pretty sure they're not all consistent with the games, though. But I think this one, the first one, I think they say they made it like it was a combination of the 2 and 3 Resident Evil games. So, But for the film on its own, I think it's a decent action horror film. And I will give like Milla Jovovich the only like well, I'll give credit for her for the first for her role in this first film as Alice. The other cast, you have Michelle Rodriguez with her. I thought she did a good job in the film. Even I will give Milla Jovovich for a pass for the first film. Supporting cast, I thought was not that bad. It's on for 101 minutes, but I thought it was okay. The pacing was okay in this. The film was a hit. That's how it started. Got all these sequels. Like, made, 103 worldwide. 40 million domestically. So that's how it got the sequels, even though critics were not too fond of it. It has like a 36% Rotten Tomatoes. But I think one of the best part of this, not just the action and stuff like that. I mean, I enjoy the score in this film. I think one of the best parts is the score is by Marco Beltrami. I know that name. I have said this guy's name before, who's done scores and other things. So let me get the guy Marco Beltrami. I always want to get this guy for the latest stuff he's done. He's doing the scores for A Quiet Place, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and just moving down the later years. World War Z. The Hurt. He did the score for The Hurt Locker, which that was nominated for original score, which I enjoy. The Hurt Locker. Then he did the score for Max Payne. Sucked. Live Free or Die Hard, I enjoyed. The remake of The Omen, no. Did the score for Cursed, the crappy, sadly, the Wes Craven crappy film, sadly though. But he also did for Hellboy, iRobot, Blade 2, The Crow Salvation, Halloween H2O, Scream 3, the Scream films 1, 2, and 3, and Mimic. So yeah, I thought he did a good job with the score, but also not only did he there was two people that did the score for this one, but Marco Beltrami and surprisingly enough, Marilyn Manson also did the score with Marco Beltrami. Yeah, Marilyn Manson. I thought it was a cool how he helped do the score as well with Marco Beltrami. So yeah, especially the one particular piece of the score, it kind of was like the main piece of score where which I thought was familiar because I heard that piece of music that was in the trailer for George A. Romero's Land of the Dead. Yeah, if you watch the trailer for Land of the Dead from George A. Romero, that piece of music that was in here, that's in the trailer for that. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember. After hearing this, like, oh yeah, that was in the trailer for George A. Romero's Land of the Dead. And which originally, and really enough, that when they were going to plan to do this, they were going to bring in, speaking of George A. Romero, they were going to have him bring in help write. I think he was going to help write a script for this as well, so I don't know why they did not go with George A. Romero's part of it. I thought maybe, I don't know if it would have made the film any better though, but hey, at least it was cool that George A. Romero would have had a hand in this, maybe. So it's sad to say, George A. Romero, rest in peace. So, but I would like to see a little bit of his work in it. So, but sadly they said no. So they went with the other writer. Who else will write this film? I think I know Paul W.S. Anderson had a hand in this. Yeah, he did not only do the writing. Yeah, he did the writing for this film, which I think particularly it would be best if George A. Romero came in and did this. See what his take on it though. But as for the film itself, okay. You have this place that's cursed. You have the Umbrella Corporation, yes, and which they have in this underground genetic research facility. Is called the Hive, and it's underneath the city of Raccoon City, which I mentioned when I reviewed the CGI Resident Evil film Degeneration. They mentioned the Raccoon City, which they think they blew up, but if I recall, they blew up the place. But yeah, but they mentioned Raccoon City, and then in the lab, someone mysteriously threw one of the a small container containing the T virus purposely. It's like someone just threw it, and then it went in the air vent system, and now the whole thing gets locked down. All those people get trapped in it, and basically they all died. So, and then afterwards, we have our character Alice, played by Milla Jovovich, wakes up naked in the shower, not knowing where she is because she is having, temporary memory loss. She's walking around, or not worrying where she's at, and then she gets picked up by these group of soldiers. One of them is the character Rain, played by Michelle Rodriguez. And then you have this one guy who's like the leader. One of the leaders. There was the guy named Shade. It was named Shade, yeah, played by Colin Salmon, or Salmon. It says Salmon, named after a fish. But there's this other guy who is a cop, played by Eric Mabius, and he's the we're actually speaking with the Crow Salvation. He's a star of that film, the Crow Salvation, the third one, the Crow Salvation, with Kirsten Dunst and Fred Ward. So he's the guy who's like the next Crow. And this other guy who is like supposedly that Alice was married to. They both have rings in the picture of them together. Named Spence, played by James Purefoy. He also has no memory as well. So they take the three of them. They take them down the secret tunnel, this train, which is down underground underneath the mansion, and takes them to the Hive. And they have the plans to get there. There's this this supercomputer by the name of the Red Queen. Need to shut her down. So and then some certain things start happening when which this is like what almost like 30 minutes into the movie, where as they're getting in, and some of the team members, where including the guy Shade, they go into this one room, this hallway, and the door shuts behind them, and they're trying to open the door again, and then basically like there's this like they're gonna say decent kills, which I would say. Like, there's this laser grid. It's like a self-defense system. It's a laser grid where it cuts through anything. So, like, one of the soldiers gets, like, his fingers cut off, and then this female soldier gets her head cut off. And as for our guy, or another guy gets cut in half. Like, he tries to jump, but then he ends up getting cut in half. And then our guy Shade, he does his best to avoid the lasers. Like, he jumps up, he managed to get clear of it, though, but the laser goes into this crosshatch design and just cuts him into pieces. Which I liked him, which sadly he died though. So, but he gets cut to pieces. So Alice and the other guy, a soldier named Kaplan, they go in, they shut down the Red Queen, and then and then they get slowly bits and a piece that Alice's some of her memory is coming back. Like, there was this moment where she's talking with this girl in a cemetery, saying that she'll give intel, and also like this stuff for regarding about the T virus, give the information to this one girl. And then when they get to this these containment units, then we get to like the people that died in the beginning from the T virus. They're now basically zombies, basically. And then when they're doing shooting the firefights, then Michelle Rodriguez, she gets bitten. And well, the guy named Matt, Eric Mabius, he was handcuffed, but he gets himself out of it. And then this other soldier, by the name of JT, he was opening this door, then a whole swarm of zombies just grab him, and they just eat him alive. So then they managed to get to someplace safe, and then where, not temporarily, they're trying to escape from the zombies, until they get crawl up these pipes. And but then the pipe collapses, and the other guy, Colin, he gets bitten too in the leg. So, but he gets left behind. So he tells the other people to go. And well, when Matt goes into this office, I think it was before or after the pipes. He gets attacked. He was going through some papers, and gets attacked by the girl, which turned out to be his sister as a zombie now. So, but Alice hits her in the head, and he was telling that his sister, Matt's sister, he wanted to, get somebody. Her she was working on the inside, so have somebody to, which was like, it was like in the CGI movie where the T virus, being sold on the open market, from other buyers basically, and he wanted to expose the Umbrella Corporation for what they're doing, for all the legal stuff they've been doing about the T virus and all that stuff. So he wanted his sister to get some info from the person on the inside, which then happened when the T virus happened. And then going back with the pipes, like after Captain get bitten, he managed to crawl away to another place, and then the three other was it Alice, Rain, Matt, Spence. They get to the other parts of the lab. And also, whereas before where you get this part here where Alice finds these mutated dogs. I think some of it was practical. It was hard to tell if it was practical. I mean, I know there was one bit that had like a bit of wonky CGI where this big creature gets out of its container. And then there's some of the CGI that did not held up as well. I will say that though, that CGI mutant, it didn't hold up as well nowadays. But I think the dogs were pretty decent. I think some of it was practical, I guess, but it was hard to tell though. But for me, I could be wrong though. So please, if I am, please correct me. And then you see Alice do some of her moves, like she knows how to do some jump kicks and all that, and a little bits of slow mo as well. Excuse me. And then when Alice all of a sudden starts remembering that there's a cure for the T virus, because Michelle Rodriguez, she hasn't had a lot of time since she's been bitten. So they go to this other part of the lab that's flooded, and then Spence, he starts remembering as well that he's the one who caused the T virus outbreak in the lab. He's the one who threw that T virus in that lab before he got out of there. So he caused it. So he's like, "Oh, Alice comes with me. You can have whatever you want, money and all that stuff." And of course, Alice, she says no, and then the zombie worker rises up from the water and bites the guy, but he gets out of there. And even along that there was part when they reactivate the Red Queen, and then this part when they're locked in, they ask for the Red Queen what's going on, and how can they tell about this other stuff in the beginning, all this. So, and they ask him, what's the code to get out, and they ask for to give Michelle Rodriguez to let her life to get the code. So, because they want an outbreak going outside the hive. But Alice hits the monitor, then the door opens, and it's Kaplan. He's still alive, and they get out because they have a limited time before the door where the train goes is slammed shut before they're sealed in. So with Spence, he makes the train before he gets himself the antivirus. He gets attacked by that CGI mutant and he dies. But they manage to get the train, and then Alice kills the mutated Spence. He's like, I'm already missing you already. Hits him with the axe. And so they get on the train, and the mutant shows up, and it kills the guy Kaplan, tosses him out, and then Michelle Rodriguez, so she mutates into a zombie, and then the guy Matt, he shoots her in the head. Now before, when he gets scratched here on the arm by the mutant, Alice starts shooting at it, and then she manages to open the doors underneath the train where the monster is like skidding against the rails, but it catches fire, killing it. And then they manage to get to they managed to get he was about to give the cure. He gave the cure like to Michelle Rodriguez, but it was too late because she's already been infected long enough, so it didn't do any good anyway. But they managed to hit Alice and Man managed to get off the train back into the mansion before the door seals shut. And before she gave him the cure, these other guys from in plastic suits show up, saying they're part of the Nemesis program. So they carry them both away, you know, and you don't see him again. So, which I'll get to that in a second here, regarding about that. But now before, when Alice wakes up once again, almost practically naked in the room, the next room, or another whatever room she's in, and she walks outside and realizes that everything is some time has passed, and that the outside is like Raccoon City has been all in ruins. It's like the apocalypse has already happened now. So she gets a gun and then just end the credits. So, but I don't think. But one thing I would say about the character Matt, I thought the guy was pretty decent. But ever seeing all the other sequels, I never ever recall seeing that guy again. Because that's a problem with these Resident Evil films. All these things they introduce characters in all these other sequels, but they never get brought up again. You know, and they're so inconsistent with certain other things. Like they bring stuff up and they don't mention them and again in other movies. Get what I mean? That's why, and especially it's so confusing. You know, because it's hard for me. It would be hard for me to watch all these sequels because it's so confusing. Trying to would you keep your track of this? Who's that? Who's not in this and who's not? Or certain aspects from the movie that's mentioned that you bring up in this movie, but you don't bring up again in the other movie. So that's why I don't know if I should just want to review the other films or just review the final chapter because, like I said, I want to sit down for like hours trying to keep track of what's this and is this part of it, this part of it. You know, just. It's reminding the X-Men movies because like the later sequels after The Last Stand because it gets so like I said it was so inconsistent, especially with Apocalypse and the Dark Phoenix, and especially with Days of Future Past, you know, and inconsistent with the other sequels as well. First X-Men First Class, and then X-Men Origins Wolverine with certain characters. I mean, especially the Dark Phoenix, how inconsistent since the director was also the writer, and then especially with the they changed the school to Jean Grey's School for the Gifted. But wait a minute, Days of Future Past, it was not called that, and Charles Xavier did not retire, and Patrick Stewart was still there, and Famke Johnson was still there with James Marsden, Cyclops. So how in Dark Phoenix, how does that work? I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. You make these films. You bring, like I said, you bring stuff up in other films, and then you do this, and it's so inconsistent. That's why I don't want to see. That's why I'm tired of the X-Men movies, like those ones. But I'm also getting. That's why. And it's also like those were inconsistent, and these films were inconsistent. All the other sequels. So yeah, like I don't think after the character Matt gets carted away, I don't think you never see him again, or other characters where you bring up later they don't mention it again in other films, or like the Red Queen, like the Red, I think it was like the Red Queen that it was mentioned that either comes a bad guy or a good guy, and it's like take your freaking pick on what you want to keep consistent with this timeline here. But I'm blowing this out as what it is. But the first film, as a film on its own, I thought it was a decent action horror film. I thought Milla Jovovich for this one here, I thought she was decent in the film. I like Michelle Rodriguez. I thought she did fine. The guy Eric Mabius, I thought the character Matt, I thought he was pretty. I thought he was fine as well. The guy Shade, Colin, Salmon, I thought I liked him, but he died though early. And the guy who play Spence, and that was okay. But yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson. I'll give his first film a pass, but not for his other movies, because the other sequels, like the ones he did, like Afterlife, Retribution, especially the final chapter, sucked. Oh, he produced 2 and 3 though. He didn't direct it, but still, I didn't care for them either. So, other than the cast was overall fine, the score I enjoyed. To me, like the score was like one of the best parts of the movie, especially but it was like by Marco Beltrami and Marilyn Manson. I was like, cool, Marilyn Manson had a hand in making the score for this movie. Okay, cool. Especially, like I mentioned that key piece of music that you heard in the trailer for George A. Romero's Land of the Dead. You know, I'm doing a terrible job with that, but you hear that piece of music, then you go watch the trailer for Land of the Dead. You'll get what I mean. So, but the pacing was all right. I don't think it was that slow pacing. As for features, it's an alternate ending with Paul W.S. Anderson's intro, the cast and filmmakers commentary, visual effects commentary, and some other stuff as well. So, I mean, overall, yeah, I thought the first Resident Evil film, I thought it was pretty decent. To me, it's the only good one in the franchise. Because I don't care for the sequels, and especially the last few ones have sucked big time. So, but Paul W.S. Anderson, I'll rather Event Horizon is much better than this, but because I love Event Horizon, I like Mortal Kombat, Soldier, Death Race. But I'm just not a fan of this franchise either, because I'll just go play the house. Because I didn't grow up playing with the games, but I mean, even the sequels. I mean, when I reviewed the CGI one, Degeneration, I thought it was average, okay, but I would say it's better than the sequels probably. But yeah, but to me, I thought this was a very decent. I thought it's the only decent one in this franchise, the first one. A lot of people say when it comes to the franchise, usually the first one is the best, and for most cases, when you name a franchise, usually it's like the first movie is always the best, basically. To me, the best one in the franchise is the movie, and I'm glad they stopped with the final chapter, because I think they were planning on doing a reboot, which I'm like, yes, please. For once, I would say yes. I'm glad I would say yes for a reboot of this, because I'm tired of seeing how these this more sequels for these, but man, I'm probably making it more what it is though. But I do like the first Resident Evil movie. The sequels, not so much. So for Alexandro Castro, watching this, my thoughts on the first movie, I liked. The sequels, not so much. So I'm not sure if I want. Because they're so inconsistent and confusing. The rest of them, I don't know why I was like, but maybe it's just. We'll see though on the next video though, decision. So, but the first Resident Evil one I do like, best one in the franchise, and with a very decent cast, and especially a great aspect. If I could talk again, a really good score by Marco Beltrami and Marilyn Manson. Yeah, cool. And especially as I mentioned before, I probably would have been interested to see what George A. Romero's hand in it would have been like. And which is too bad now because the guy's now passed away and it's been a long time done. So, although I probably would like to see what George A. Romero's hand in the work would have been. But also, like I said, the score by the two guys, Marco Beltrami and Marilyn Manson, really good score. And the action I thought overall was decent. The mutant, the CGI was not that great, but there was like still a little bit of practical stuff in it. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on the first Resident Evil film. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next movie review. Later.